There you go.
Oh, we're live. So I thought there was going to be the music.
No
All right,
music today.
welcome in everybody back to the Sunday session. Jir and Alex, episode 8. We're on it, getting back from international duty as well. Leeds United sit 15th in the Premier League table with 2 wins, 2 draws, and 3 losses, showing flashes of quality, but also struggling for consistency. The odds makers currently have Leeds United at a 50-50 chance of survival. So today we're going to take a look into Farke's men and their chance to stay up. 3 quick ways to support the channel. Of course, leave us a review. We're live to our YouTube members, so please do consider becoming a YouTube member if you haven't already. And you can do that over at the Leeds View YouTube channel. There should be a little button that says join. And then, of course, check out the affiliate links. Gear has a partnership with Fanatics, so if you're going to get merchandise, you might as well do it through an affiliate link. All right, let's get stuck in. Thanks for everybody for joining us. Gear, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I've just realized as I pressed live, I haven't set this to just be members. So this is live to everybody on the channel. So hello, everybody on the channel. This normally goes out to just members, and the audio goes on to Spotify and podcast platforms. Excuse my voice. I'm on the back end of a cold, and I'm just trying to muddle through it. But yeah, I'm good outside of that. Back to real football this week, Alex. We can start talking about Monday morning. We can start talking about Leeds have a game against Burnley coming up, and I'm looking forward to that. And one more Ireland match to get through, and then I'm after last night's daylight robbery, and then I can focus on Leeds again. But yeah, I'm all good. How are you, mate?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm just starved, right, for quality football. I watched a little bit of the United States draw against Ecuador. Aronson did not come on.
Yeah.
Was not featured, so I'm sure he'll be a little, disappointed in the fact that he flew all the way over there and took time out of his, out of the team to not be featured. But, I don't know, maybe some of that was game state and everything, but obviously Mauricio Pochettino is running that side. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to meaningful club games as I'm sure the rest of our fan base is. So we're just going to take a broad look at the season so far, and then dive into some deeper conversations. But Jir, I'm just interested. How would you sum up Leeds United's return to the Premier League after 7 games? Have they met, exceeded, or fallen short of expectations?
I think we're probably exactly where we would have hoped to be, because I mean, you can look at the different games and say that we were unlucky in games not to pick up points in certain matches or whatever else. My camera's gone off, has it? I can't see.
Yeah, you're frozen for me, but I can hear you.
Okay, I think I might have messed up something here. Give me 1 second. Do that, and then do that. That didn't work. Okay, give me 1 sec. I'm actually going to jump out and jump back in really quickly. That'll fix it. All 1 sec. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Well, thank you to everybody for joining us today. We're, like I said, we're live to everyone. So this is a nice little preview of what we do on the Sunday session. We basically, it's a chance. I host the show, and it's a chance to pick Jir's brain about what's happening and all the things happening at Leeds United. And we kind of take it from there. I think that we have, basically met expectations. I mean, I don't see us. There he is.
Sorry.
I think we've basically met expectations. I mean, you could probably say we're 3 points light in terms of from the Goodmanson goal and the late winner on the set piece against Bournemouth. But I mean, you have to pay attention in those moments. You really deserve what you deserve. I mean, those will hopefully won't be moments and reasons why we stay up or go down, probably, right? Because we're 3 short, you'll say probably might go down because of them. But you get what you get. You have to focus in those moments, and that's a reason why you probably have to be a little bit more brave going forward. What are your thoughts, Jer?
Yeah, I think if we had looked at the table exactly where it is right now, and we were shown that at the end of last season, told this is where you'll be after the first 7 games this season, I think we'd be really happy with that. I think like, yep, that's grand. We're not in the bottom 3. We're not cut adrift from anybody. We've actually got a little gap. So there's positives there. I mean, I do the match reactions every week, and I'm probably more critical of the side immediately after games, but that's, you know, my coaching background. I naturally look at matches and go, well, where's the areas to fix? Where's the areas to work on and get better at and improve? And they're always the small bits that I try and find in games. Maybe I focus a little bit too much on them, but when you step back from the whole thing and have a look at the entire season, we've been very, very competitive against everyone. We haven't looked, again, the Arsenal game will always be the outlier on this, but we've looked apart. We've competed with every single side. When you look at the XG for the table, we're one of the best sides for XG so far in the league. So we're definitely doing all the right things. The areas we're probably letting ourselves down in are being clinical, finishing chances, but that's not a new Leeds problem. That's been there for probably a while. I'm probably a little bit lacking a little bit of creativity at times, but that's small little things that need to work on, because, you know, we're creating lots of chances. So even without the creativity, we're still creating chances to score goals. I think sometimes I like Daniel Farke to just, again, this is early season stuff with Daniel Farke, and I've said the exact same thing last year and the exact same thing the year before. Just let them go a little bit more. You know, let them loose it. Stop dropping. You know, you don't need to drop on 70 minutes. You don't need to drop on 65 minutes. You can keep pushing forward. And I think if you look at the statistics, Leeds have won more balls in the opposite. One of the sides that have won the most amount of balls back in the opposition half. So that goes to show you that when Leeds press high and defend high, they actually win the ball back an awful lot more than they defend at the 18-yard line. So there's things he'll work on. But I think, again, I've looked back on streams from this time last year. I was saying the exact same things. And Daniel Farke's sides usually need 8 to 10 games before they actually get into their rhythm and we start to see what they're capable of. And the fact that we're in a really reasonably decent position right now, comparative to what was expected this season, I think that holds us in a good position. You know, get to 8-10 games and that's get these international breaks out of the way so we can actually get a proper run of games without interruption, and then we'll see. But I think we're doing reasonably well.
I think so too. We're going to talk a little bit about Burnley too. I'm kind of nervous about that. It's going to be a big match at the weekend. Yeah, I like I said, I think I want to see us go a little bit more braver on the ball. If I were to sum up Leeds United in kind of a sentence, if a friend of mine was asking from another club, we are a reactive team, in my opinion. We haven't really been proactive since the Everton game. And what I mean by that is, like, if we need a goal, like we go down against Wolverhampton, we respond with 3 goals. You know, we go down a goal against Tottenham, we respond. You know, that's reactive. We seem to be very like reactive in situations rather than proactive and taking a game to the opposition. And you know, if we need to see out a result, you know, Farco will do that. But that's reacting to the situation. I just do want to see moments of taking a match to a side more. I want to see more of what we saw at Everton. So, or when we hosted Everton in the opening match of the season. So, he's just been very conservative, which I understand. You know, you don't want to leave it too far open. We'll transition to basically, you know, some of the metrics, but you know, the next topic is really, are Leeds playing better than the record suggests? Are the results fair based on the performances? We went based on a little bit on that, but I'm going to share a couple of the data points.
While you're doing that, just to one of the comments about the mess at Rangers from Sam. Sam, the mess at Rangers has got nothing to do with Leeds at all. The 49ers don't own Rangers. They're a secondary minority shareholder in that club. They're owned by Andrew Kavanagh, who's a pharmaceutical guy. He owns the club. Brad Morat is the vice chairman. He's not even the chairman of the club. So whatever's going on at Rangers has no reflection on Leeds United in any way, shape, or form. They're not the same. They're run separately. They're not even part of a multi-club model. They're not the same. Just to be really clear on that.
Right, exactly. So they're just advisors right now. But this stat I just I think it might be with you, Jir, but it's XG adjusted. The XG adjusted table.
Put up the screen.
Leeds United sit 5th. So and I was talking to Giro off camera, the XG argument, we're not Jesse Marsh. The Jesse Marsh argument was look at the XG, but it was also like, hey, in these press conferences that he would have, it's like, look at the back door. We're wide open. It's like, we know you're producing, expected goals. We see it, and we need some. Yes, you're right, Jesse. We need some clinicality. So he's screaming about clinicality. God, the defending was awful with Jesse.
Shocking.
Here we see, at least the defensive numbers we're solid at the back, and we're still producing the XG. So it's just also, this should be, you almost want to print this out and put it on the boardroom table and slam it down next to Bragg and say, we need players. But what do you think, Jer?
I think we have the players. I just think they need to find their form quickly. The problem is that we're relying on the player coming back from being, mostly injured on and off for the last couple of years and not having a huge amount of game time behind him. And I think we're waiting on him to hit form. So that's the issue you're in. My argument with that one is there is a point where we can't keep waiting for Dominic Calvert-Lewin to get up to speed. We've got Lucas Mecha sitting on the bench. I think he's good enough, to be competitive in this league. He holds the ball very, very well. He's strong in possession when it does go up to him. He can flick it on if he needs to, and he can finish as well. We've seen that. He's good going forward, and he's pacey. So I think there's just question marks there about like at what point do we have that conversation? I think if we come out of the international break and DCL starts banging goals in, then that conversation goes away and everything's fine. But yeah, I mean, that XG thing tells you there that we are creating chances but not finishing them off. And if we start to finish them off, this season could become far more positive, far more quickly. And if you look at the next run of games that we've got, it's super important that we do that. I mean, Burnley's come up and, it's one that everyone's going to be a little bit nervous about because it's one that we're looking at and going, that has to be 3 points. It has to be. We're at that point now where certain games have to be 3 points. Burnley is one. We've got to beat the teams that will likely be down the bottom end of the table. So that's the one you're looking at and going, right, if we can get that one, great, we're flying. Good one. But I think 7 to 9 points in the next couple of block of games before the next international break puts us in a very strong position. But you've got to finish your dinner. So when we make them, we've got to go put the ball in the back of the net. But I think we've got the capability to do that. There's goals starting to come from other areas. The flip side to the whole thing is now that we're scoring more goals, we've also started to concede more goals. So it's how do we get that balance right? How does Farke keep the defensive solidity that's been so strong for us so far this year, but also put balls in the back of the net? So without one sacrificing the other one. So that's his job, and that's going to be the big one that he needs to get right this year because, as I say, we're definitely creating chances and we're creating big enough chances that should be goals. Had we scored them, we'd be sitting fifth, So much easier said than done, obviously. Obviously, it's very easy just to look at a stat and say, there you go. It's tougher to actually do it against opposition players. But these are players. This is Daniel Farke's squad now. This is 3 summer transfer windows. This is entirely his squad now. So let's see what they can do.
Yeah, let's see what they can do. I think he's set his team up well for success. This tells me that, his system is coping well for the league.
So far.
And that so far so good in that way. And then the next one is from
LUFC data.
LUFC data. You want to break this one down, Jer?
Yeah, there's loads in this that's interesting. There's some good, there's some not so good. Passes into the penalty box, we rank 17th in the league, which then that ties back into the lack of creativity that Leeds are probably looking for or needing. Then you've got a couple of joint 15 successful take-ons and possession share. The possession's going to drop in the last couple of weeks, but before that was pretty good. Final third passes, final third passes 16th, successful take-ons 15th. 16th and 15th, passes in the penalty area 17th, shots on target 15th, and conversion rate 15th. They're the creative metrics. They're the ones that will give us goals and get us up the table. So we have to improve in all of those areas. You come away from that and you look at clean sheets, joint 8, that's excellent. The XG is pretty decent there as well. Big chances missed, joint 6th. That tells you a lot. That's the conversion part as well. But then you look at the defensive side of things as well. Opposition's 13th, touches in the box 15th. It's not great. Again, that's probably more so over the last couple of games. Fewest shots faced, 9th in the league. That's great. That means we're limiting opposition players to shots from distance or limiting the shots at all. And that's what we have to be able to do moving forward. So nothing in this ranking should shock the eye test. And anyway, a lot of times you can say that, well, stats don't always back up the eye test or vice versa. But I think you look at this and you can say, yeah, these stats say that we're struggling in areas where it's around creativity and creating very good chances. And then there's other parts of it. You're like, well, defensively, yeah, we're limiting opposition to chances against us, which is again what we've seen so far this season. So it's good to keep an eye on this stuff because you can see patterns and trends starting to pop up. I know they're only statistics, and the only statistic that matters is goals in the back of the net and points on the board. But for me, there's a lot of bits in this that say there's a good foundation built here. We need to build on it in the next 2 months. And then you go into January, and if I was the board, I would be making sure I go and get that final piece of the puzzle. Just give yourself the chance to be clear.
Love it.
But I'd still take 17th. I still take 17th right now.
I would absolutely take 17th. I see comments about the upcoming match. We're going to get stuck into that. I see some comments about people interested in what you're hearing on Nanto to Saudi League, which makes sense in a lot of ways, I think, for a Saudi type of buy. But we'll see. Everybody's kind of rubbing their hands together at a possible overpay from the Saudi League, but we'll take a peek at that in a second. Let's go a little bit in. I just want to get your thoughts in the midfield. Who has been the standout in the midfield so far? I mean, I think I lean towards Ampadu, just because the record when he's with the squad is always in the shape and the leadership. I just think he's so important in that, making that work. And does the current setup give Leeds enough control in games? And I'll also throw it, Jer, if there is somebody to drop out of that midfield currently, Ampadu, Longstaff, Stock, who would be it?
I think the standout midfielder is probably Ampadu for us so far this year. And again, I can be very critical of Ethan Ampadu after matches, but I tend to always give him a very high rating based on what he actually does in the game. But I think Ethan Ampadu is capable of doing more than he's already currently doing. I don't think he's up to full fitness yet either. I think once he gets back to that, he controls that midfield really, really well. He's important in the shape of that midfield. He's the pivot for everything that midfield does. He can dictate our tempo, but that's a good thing or a bad thing. At times he slows it down a little bit too much for me, but at times he can get it going as well. So when he's moving, for me, he's probably the best midfielder that we have in there. And I think there's more to come from him. I've been very impressed with Sean Longstaff so far. Just the battle and the graft that he gives us in there in this league, and it's important. They weren't brilliant in the last game. I thought they lost the midfield battle in the last game, but that's one out of how many games so far. And you're going to get those matches. You're not going to be perfect every single week. Unfortunately, it happens that everybody in the midfield or everyone in one position can be off at the same time, at the same game. So I think there's probably a few question marks around Anton Stack at the moment. He's been very good at the first part of the block of season, the last 2 games. He's probably been a little bit more out of it. I think there's context to that as well. I think the fact that he's probably playing more advanced than he would like to play. I think he's more of a defensive-minded midfielder, and he's been asked to play the more advanced role in the 3. So I think that's kind of hamstrung him a little bit, but I think that's a good thing as well, because ideally he's taken the Sean Longstaff position. So ideally you've got Sean Longstaff and Anton Stack fighting for that position. You've Ampadu and Gruev fighting for their position. Then you've got Tanaka potentially in that more advanced midfield role, or somebody who can keep hold of the ball very, very well. They can and recycle the ball and keep Leeds in possession and calm things down in possession. I think we saw that from Tanaka when he came on the last game. So I think the question mark will be Stack and Tanaka. Because when Tanaka did play at the start of the season, he was very good. I think there's question marks there about who goes where. But one thing I think Daniel Farke needs to start doing an awful lot more of is rotating this team. He goes in and he's in the Premier League, and he can't do what he did in the Championship. He can't play the same 11 every single game for 90 odd minutes or 75 minutes and absolutely burn them into the ground. He has a squad now that he has bought. He now has to trust that bench and rotate that team. You look at Yakubial and you look at Tanaka last week saying that they were frustrated at the lack of minutes, but they understood the scenario around it, and they knew that they would get their opportunities and they will take them when they get them. But for me, there's opportunities there to be rotating these players around each game anyway. Like, you don't have to play the same 11 week in, week out. And in fact, in the Premier League, with the amount of data analysts that are involved in the game, the sports analysts that are involved in the game, it can get very predictable. I mean, we had this situation last year with Daniel Farke where we were able to say, I can predict the 11 for next weekend, which means the opposition manager can as well, which means they can understand how Leeds are going to play. They can stop us. So for me, he just needs to be able to rotate the squad a bit better. I don't think he has the excuse that I gave him 2 years ago, which was it's not his bench. It's not a competitive bench. They're not game changers. Last year, half and half. This year, that's your bench, mate. They're all your players. Every single one of them are your players. So if you don't trust them, that's on you. But I don't see any reason why we can't be bringing a Jacobi all on towards the back end of the game. Just to make the defense more solid, changing that. If he does go to a back three, great. Then put a centre back in there, instead of a midfielder. No problem. Manage the game out properly, great. And then midfield as well. No harm in if Anton Stack is gassing at 60 minutes, great, bring Tanaka in. If Ampadu's gassing at 60 minutes, bring Gruev in. If Okafor is struggling, bring Nonto in. You've got players there where you can bring them in. You don't have to wait until, as you said earlier on, be proactive about it. Don't be reactive. Don't be waiting to see what the opposition bench does before you then decide, right, or wait till you're a goal behind before you then make changes. Like, trust that bench a bit more. Rotate them before each game. If you do that, you're in a decent position. So, yeah, I mean, there's positive there. Who would I take out? I think it's the question mark between Stack and Tanaka. But I just like to see in general a bit more rotation for certain games.
Yeah.
And this is one particularly he can afford to go in against Burnley and be a little bit more open and probably a bit more ambitious in this game. He doesn't have to be, thinking about defensive stuff. So he could probably put players in. The issue for this game is going to be the turnaround time for Brendan Aronson and out Tanaka. Tanaka plays Tuesday AM UK time. So that's Wednesday AM, early Wednesday AM. So 2:00 in the morning or something like that our time. So which means by the time that game is finished and done, he's not getting back to at least Thursday, Friday. He's got jet lag. He's got acclimatizing to do again. He hasn't trained. The game's on Saturday. There's a problem there. Same way, and Aronson's pretty much the same as well. Like I would have loved Aronson to play the first game for USA and then send them back. Same with Tanaka, play the first game, send them back. But the jet lag is a real problem.
Yeah,
when they're coming back.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get stuck into that. The international breaks going on. We have, I'm just going to try to name some of them off the top of my head. Goodmanson's at international duty. Bijol, Rodon, not Strouk, but Rodon, Ampadu, and of course the goalie, Darlow's out. Aronson, Tanaka, and Noah Okafor. So quite a few players on international duty. I might have missed one.
No, Okafor stayed. Okafor has had a fallout with his international manager, so he's not being gone anywhere. But you've got and Gruev didn't seem to go. I haven't seen Gruev's name pop up anywhere in international duty, but there's a couple. James didn't go because he's injured, so he's still a question mark. He's out till the next international break. Rodon, Ampadu, Darlow, Tanaka, Aronson, Biel. Biel's the other one. Played 90 minutes for Slovenia the other night as well. So at least he's getting game time before he comes back. So, he'd have hopefully 2 matches under his belt.
So, I mean, knowing Farka, look, and the fact that we're playing Burnley, it's like Groundhog Day.
Gabby as well. Sorry, good shout, Danny. Gabby's as well. Gabby's out as well.
Gabby, yep. Goodmanson. But it's like Groundhog Day because we talked about this in the championship, how many international players that Farka had, and me and Michael would joke about, is it a free hit? Because he would always come back and we would drop results in these games in the championship.
Complain about them.
He would complain about them, and we laughed in our chat because it's like, is he always going to be complaining about the fact that half of his squad's out when he has all these international players to even choose from? The riches that he had in the championship. Okay. So now we're playing Burnley, also a promoted side. And it's like, this is a must win game. You have to me, and then people are going to say, no, it's not must win. It's must not lose, or it's too early to say that. It's a very important match in which you want to get results. And I do not want to hear after his post match, if for whatever reason we dropped a result, that it was because of the international duty. I don't want to hear that queued up.
I'm so sorry, Daniel, that you've got such good players. They're all international players as well. I'm really sorry for that. Every single team in the Premier League loses more than half their squad every international break. So deal with it. But you're dead right. He used to do, and it used to drive me bananas. I was always complaining about it. He'd be like, "Oh, well, we've got players international duty." He was like, "Well, deal with it then. Manage it. Use the rest of your squad. Stop giving Jack Harrison time to go off on his own personal camp and do training during the 2 weeks. Work on him starting the next match. You've got 2 weeks to get him ready for that match. Start doing this early. Get all your tactics ready for Burnley now. Give yourself 2 weeks to be really, really well drilled on this. Don't be then sitting there going, well, my players were in international duty. It's like, yeah, well, so was everybody else's, mate. You have to deal with this. And push
I'm just
forward
picturing Farco with with his hands in his pockets and his training gear, doing keepy uppies, just no one around to train.
No one else around him. Yeah.
It's like, come on.
Of course, everyone going, oh, Daniel gave him the week off because of the international break. Like, why are you doing that?
It's an important match. So
it is huge. And I would say it is a must win, Alex. I would say it is, because you need 10 wins, right? Ideally 10 wins and a handful of draws as well, right? We've got 2. Where are they going to come from? Where are those wins going to come from? If you can get 2 wins from each of what will essentially be the relegated 3 sides, great. That's 6 wins under your belt. You still need 4 more. Where are you going to pick up those 4 wins from? So for me, you're looking at Burnley and going, you have to hope for a home and away win. I said the exact same thing about Wolves. And excuse my French, they're dog shit. We should have been going and beating them and getting 3 points against them. We did. Great. That's away. We now need to beat them at home as well. There's another 2 matches. They've got to look at certain games and go, these are the ones that we want to have, that we are earmarking for 3 points. We have to go all out to get 3 points in these games. I would even say we've got to look at Sunderland, who will have 9 players in the African Cup of Nations in December. 9 of their squad will be gone. And I think we played them in and around that time as well. You got to go beat them then. That's where they're absolutely at their weakest. You've got to go beat them as well. And if you can do that, then you're picking up the wins you need to pick up. But to say it's a must not lose, I would say games against Nottingham Forest and Brentford are probably must not lose. But Burnley, as a promoted side with us, is a must win.
I'm just looking at the win probability. Burnley at a 29% chance of a win, 29% chance of an overall draw between the 2 clubs, and Leeds United with a 42% chance at a win. It's not many times we've seen Leeds United favored this season, and certainly favored away. As far as squad selection, I think Farco will probably trust who's there, right? So Strauch will be in camp, so I don't think Bajol will be selected because of his international duty. It's no fault of his, but he's at the international duty. The question, I think, a little bit on Aronson, if James or Nanto is healthy and they're in training, Aronson will get back. Maybe he'll have a training session and a half. I don't know, depending on what travel is and jet lag is and all of that. So maybe Aronson and might lose his space. I think the back line is pretty good. And then Perry, if they view Perry as ready to go. Tough, though, because they don't necessarily have that rapport with his back line. But I guess you're not going to be pressed into oblivion, kind of like Arsenal, and having to choose with where you're putting the ball all the time. So hopefully the match will be more favorable if he does select Perry. I think Calvin Lewin keeps his place. Okafor keeps his place. So and Longstaff seems to be kind of, we use this term, but Farc a favorite. I think he's just he likes his attributes. He's very good in attack. I will say he timed his tackles well.
Oh, they're very good. Yeah. The one in the penalty area last week where it looked like they were in on goal, and he managed to come across in the penalty area, which is a risky place to make a slide tackle, and comes out with the ball clean, takes the ball out with it. No drama. Just goes about his business really, really well. I love his physicality. I think you're right. I think the right-hand side of the park is going to be the big question mark with Aronson getting back so late. James looks like it's going to be November before he's back, so that'll be the next international break. But in the meantime, they said that, we might have Willie Nanto back for this. He said that he was expected back on the pitch last week training, the team training. So that means he's got another full week ahead of him. That's 2 weeks training with the team. So you put Willie Nanto on the right-hand side, and let's have a look at that Bogle-Nanto lineup again that we saw against Sheffield Wednesday that everyone liked so much, and see if there's more creativity that comes from that area, and that gives us more attacking options. Get Brendan a chance. Brendan coming off the bench for me makes a lot of sense as well, because he's a high-energy player, and his statistics back that up where he wins the ball back. you put him on against tired legs in the end of the game, and he might do more. He might get assists. He might get some goals. If you use him strategically, you might get an awful lot more out of him. You've got another 2 weeks of working with Noah Okafor on the left-hand side, so his fitness levels should be getting better and better, get more used to the squad. And then the other big position is going to be in goal. Myself and Joe Blackburn talked a lot about Carl Darlow last week, and we're not overly complimentary about the 2 goals. Like, could he have done better on both of them? Were the deflections big enough to really change the direction of the ball? I don't know if they were. You could argue about this. Maybe Perry walks back into the side. Maybe they've spent, £17 million on a goalkeeper. They're like, well, he's first choice. So he comes back in, he plays. So maybe Perry comes back in, but we'll see how the injuries are on both of those players, Nanto and him. And if they do, there's your 2 changes. And then the other question mark is, does Daniel Farke use the international break with Bial in a different way? Does he look at that of going, well, I can't put Yaka in because he hasn't got any game time behind him. But now he has 2 potential 90 minutes under his belt. Maybe now I can put him in, and at that point, then he's got some game time. And he should be back on Wednesday morning with the squad. So he'll have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to train with the team. So maybe he comes back in that position. So, yeah, I don't know. Darlow calf strain would be really. Oh yeah, Carl Darlow got a calf strain. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he hasn't. But yeah, I forget what you're saying, Joe. Yeah, it'll be interesting. He's got options. He's got options across the park. Does he take Anton Stack out and put out Tanaka in? Probably not, because of the international situation this time around. So Stack will probably keep his position. But yeah, there's options there, and that's good. That's good. We keep saying it. Like, I want to see players annoyed at getting taken off the pitch. I want to see players annoyed that they're not playing. I want to see a squad that is biting at each other's ankles for positions. I want every single player looking over their shoulder going, well, if I have a bad game, he's going to nick my spot, and then I have to wait for him to have a bad game before I can get it back. So you want that. That's real competition. We haven't had that for so long, and I don't want too many Daniel Farke favourites in the team, because a Daniel Farke favourite means he plays 90 minutes every week, no matter what. That has always been the case. It was I'm trying to think of the guy's name at Borussia Mönchengladbach that he had. Julian Weigl played every minute under him, every single minute under him. Ethan Ampadu, every minute under him. He's had players in every single team. So I don't want them to have too many of them, or else it's going to be the same 11 every single week. I want some surprises, and he's got bodies to do that.
Yeah. I think Perry's ability, like, there's so many ways you can judge a keeper, but there, I agree with your assessment that his basic job is shot stopping and keeping the ball from going out of the net. All the other stuff is really, I think he's got a great catch on him, sure hands there. I just think the rapport with the center backs is going to take some time. His kicking ability, his ability with the feet, that's stuff that's more on the peripheral, making good decisions with the ball when you are being pressed. I trust him after the Arsenal game. I trusted in him in those situations. That was a very unique game, and I don't think the squad was just really ready to go into that match in London. They kind of looked like wide-eyed does in a way, and for much of the match. You're listening to the Sunday Session with Jir and Alex. This is our podcast that we do for members and audio only platform. We're doing it live to everybody on the Leeds View channel today. So if you want to become a member and listen to more of these, there's a join button on the top of the channel. Of course, leave a review if you are listening to this on the audio platforms, and check out the affiliate links. If you're going to get merch, might as well support a YouTube channel. Jir, I just didn't get you a chance because we didn't do one last week. When Farke was putting on the kitchen sink tactics, as everybody likes to say, he's putting on all the strikers. I think Perot played maybe a little bit more deeper in the 10 role. Yeah. But what do you think of? I'm laughing because I think I know what you're going to say. But what do you think of those tactics? And but also, is this a match, because we're not going to be playing maybe as clinical of a side as maybe the traditional like top 6 or top half of the table, that you would maybe put Perot in a 10, or because he's had success against Burnley. So just your thoughts on the tactics, and then also Perot and how you'd utilize him in this upcoming match.
There's a good and a bad side to this. The bad side is, have we ever seen this work? Maybe once, where Daniel Farke brought all the attackers on. And I understand the situation he was in with getting more bodies on. But the issue with this is, and has always been the same issue, he takes off players that put the ball into the penalty area to bring on strikers. And then there's nobody to put the ball into the penalty area. So you have all these strikers in the penalty area and no one creating opportunities for them to score, which is a massive problem, right? I wouldn't have taken Okafor off at that time. If you're going to do that, you need to leave him on the park because he's going to put the ball in the box. And then we see Jayden Bogle uncharacteristically putting 2 crosses straight over the crossbar, not even into the penalty area. So you're going, right, we've all these strikers on. And the one time we put a half decent ball to the edge of the penalty area from deep, we got to see exactly where Joe Peru fits in a 2. Because DCL goes, Lucas Metch, I think, went up, or DCL went up, won the header down, and Pirro was there for the second ball and got a shot away on goal and nearly scored. Keeper makes a great save. And that's that big man, little man partnership there. So it's that's where he's at his best, in a 2, a second striker. He's not a 10, he's not a 9, he's a second striker. Just off, like a 9.5. He's just off the 9, just ahead of the 10, But I thought we saw exactly what benefit you can get from Joe Peru in those situations. So I think if he needs to make a change in a game, rather than bringing all of the strikers on at one time, he's kind of playing with this 4-3-3 that molds into a 3-5-2 at times, or 3-4-3 at times with the back, because Ampadu drops in between the 2 centre halves at times, and you've got a 4-man midfield, and then you've got 2 wingers stuck in as a 3. So you end up with this 3-4-3 system at times. And I think that's okay. And you could even make that a 3-4-1-2 and then put your second striker on, put Pirro on with another striker up top, and then let them go for it and keep your 10 on and keep your wide men, your fullbacks, your wing backs being the guys to put the ball in the box. So there's opportunities there and there's options, and he does have a place, Joe Peru, in that situation. The problem for Joe Peru is he's not a number 9 that can hold the ball up. We know that. We all know that. This is no disrespect to Joe Peru. We've got 2 years worth of visual and data to say, if you put a ball up to Joe Peru on his own, it's going to bounce off him and come straight back at you. He's not going to win that ball. I saw him win a header though against Spurs, which I haven't seen him ever win, but I saw him win a flick on, which is great. That was positive. But he doesn't fit in this system with 1 striker. He only fits if it's a 2. And when he went to a 2, it worked. Yeah, Shane Dalton's nailed it. Quinn and Keane, Quinn and Defoe. There's loads of these examples of strikers that work well in partnerships. And I think it's a really good position. But it's again, it's game management. It's how Farkas sees the game at different points of the game. At what point do you go, Ethan, you've been sitting in and out of the back 2 during the course of the game. Crouching Defoe as well. Great show. When now we just want you to stay there, drop in between the 2 centre backs and stay there. And at that point, then you can maybe go, actually, you know what? It's not Ethan. It's take off Stack. We'll bring on Bial. Bial will go into the centre half positions. There's your 3 centre backs. Bring on Tanaka in the midfield. Now you got a creative player in there who can find passes. There's things you can do there. And it's just about how he views the game. And at what point does he say, right, now we change it. And bringing all of your strikers standing in a row on in the 89th to 80th minute is like, I get it. It's a Hail Mary. I get it. But has it ever really worked? Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, it only worked right in that Norwich match in which Somerville basically just took on the whole team. And I mean, was now we're getting more and more away from that. It's just Somerville heroics than anything else.
We don't have those players. We don't have individual talent anymore. We have hard workers. We have a workman-like squad. We don't have it. I think maybe that's because Farke really deep down doesn't like individual players. I don't think he likes, and we've seen this. Like, when El Tanaka came in his first match in the team, he was spraying balls from the 6th position into the corner flags, and then first thing is Farke talks about it after the game, and he's like, we need to retain the ball better. I don't like seeing that, and then it's gone. Farke stops doing it overnight. Jorginho Rutter in his first season, the Farke, he talks about Rutter embarrassing opposition players on the park, and I don't like to see that. And then Georgie stops doing it. And you're like, the fun, the personality is being taken away from these players, and what you're being left with is players that can run all day, fight, battle hard, and that's important. That's really important to have that. But there's no point in Daniel Farke asking for difference makers if he's then going to turn around to a difference maker and say, "Yeah, stop taking players on.
Yeah,
keep the ball."
I mean, I never forget he criticized Goulibaly to play less like Zidane. And he was like on the pitch for 5 minutes.
Play more like Zidane. Can we have more Zidanes, please? Play more like Zidane.
I know, but it's like, did he really he might have taken one guy on in a quick moment, and he still has great skill at the championship level. He's not as quick as he used to be, but it's like you're calling out.
He's experienced.
Goulibaly comes on for like the last literally like 120 seconds of a match. And I think we wound up winning that game, but he's like, yes, Josh, get me a little nervous there. It's like, okay. Look, I know everybody's
got all of us off our seats though, didn't he? That's the point. Like, got all the fans going, yes, go on, Josh, go on, Josh, go on. And like, and Daniel's like, no. And you're like, oh.
Yeah.
It's the Roy Hodgson meme, where you're like, yeah, something's, and then fine, whatever.
That's a great gif. All right, let's talk a little bit about the January window, maybe some news of the week as this goes. But you're covering the news every day. What are you hearing about the January window? Do you think Leeds will have incomings? And then I'll also add, because was mentioned in the comments, Nanto to the Saudi league. What do you think of that rumor, and if there could be an outgoing? But yeah,
I think if someone is to come in, there has to be an outgoing. Because we're a 25-man squad. Now, obviously, they're very active trying to sell Mez in January if they can. Otherwise, they get nothing for him. So, Andy's probably right, though, pie in the sky January window. They have to do something, though, And what was put out this week was that they'll make their decision in January based on how the next 2 months go. But that doesn't mean they haven't got targets. They probably have. Well, they told us they have. They told us they had their shortlist like 6 to 8 months in advance. So we know there's players they've looked at. And we know there's players they missed out. We know now the window's closed from both sides. We know that they did make a move for Gus Hamer late in the window. Couldn't agree to fee and didn't get him. They did make a move for Edward Spurgeon the last 3 or 4 days, and Spurgeon's comments about staying put came because he didn't realise Leeds would come back in again. And then that took too long to get done. That didn't happen. And we know they tried to get Harry Wilson. Right? The Nanto one's mad. Shane's saying in the chat, he's dead right. 30 million, probably bite your hand off. But it's not an overly credible source. It's coming out of Saudi Arabia is where the story is originated from. And it basically is stated that Neom and Al Ittihad are 2 sides that are looking at Willie Nanto. And Leeds have set a price tag of £30 million on his head. Now, that price tag's been there since last year, I believe. So that's not new. Now, the obvious question when people were going to say this, and it's going to be in the chat at some point, I'm sure. Why would Willie Nanto go to Saudi Arabia at this point in his career? Right? It's a World Cup year. The other flip side of that is Willie Nanto's not in the Italian national team's senior squad. He's in the under-21 squad. He's not part of their senior squad. Right? Now, he's not playing enough games for Leeds right now to be in the Italian national squad. So it might just be a case that he just doesn't make the Italy squad for the World Cup regardless. And then the question for Willie Nanto is, does he go and absolutely rip it up in Saudi Arabia and get in a massive bag of money at the same time? Why not? Again, people say he's too young to retire to the Saudi Arabia from Sam. There's younger players have gone to Saudi Arabian League and have left after 2 years and gone back in and resumed their careers like it never happened. There's players have gone to the Chinese League for big money at times as well and come back and after 2 years and resumed their career. He's young. He's got loads of time on his hands. He could go make an absolute ton of money in a cup over 2 seasons, come back and join an Italian side. No problem. So, and if he goes to Al Ittihad, it's a successful side. It's got people like Mitrovic was there and did really well there as well. So they've got big players there. So it's not a Sunday pub league as we think it is. And I've always called it a Sunday pub league team, but it's not that much. So maybe he does it. I think it's unlikely. I'm being very, very honest. I think anyone paying £30 million will tell every single team in England to stay away from him because it's crazy money for a player that's not played a huge amount of football in the last couple of years. He's been a bit par player for Leeds over 2 seasons. And his best season for Leeds was probably the last season in the Premier League when we brought him in first. And he was an unknown entity at that point. But £30 million, probably not an awful lot of money to Al Ittihad if they need to bring a player in that they can make a difference for them. Maybe they look at him. And then the other part of me says, has Willie Nanto really done enough to even pop up on the radar of teams in Saudi Arabia? To be like, yeah, we give you £30 million for him. I don't know. So I think it's really unlikely that happens. It's an interesting link. There's definitely some level of truth in it somewhere. I think the fee is probably the incorrect part of it. I don't think you get £30 million for Willie Nanto at this point. But I made the point during the week of you could do something very creative with that if you did get it. Like, sorry, you're gonna have to cough. Give me 1 second. Throws like razor blades. Yeah, so you could do something very creative. And the point I made during the week was, and I was just kind of using players as an example of what you could do. Not necessarily these 2 players, but Harry Wilson's price tag is less than 10 million. Edward Spurgeon's figure is less than 15 million. So you could sell one player in Willie Gnonto for 30, fill in 2 problem positions, a 10 and a wide right player. Give yourself options there and still have some cash left in your pocket for PSR. So you could do that, and then the fee from LA becomes less important, but you just get him off the squad. You move him out of the team. Where are you going, Jordan? Where are you going to go next year? I'm going to go back to Lorient. Right, fine, you can go now. That frees up a spot and they get 2 players in and we're done. They could do that. We haven't gone down. Sorry, would I sell Willie Gnonto for 30 million? Yeah, I would, yeah. I'm not convinced that he's going to be the player we think he is. He's very young still. We keep forgetting how young he is. Still an under 21 player, so maybe he will. But at this point in time for Leeds, I think you've got to look at sacrificing somebody to balance the squad in another area. Now, over the course of the summer, that was Pascal Struijk. We sell Pascal Struijk, it's 100% PSR. Then you buy a player you need in the more problematic position. We've seen Aston Villa do this over a couple of years. We've seen Newcastle United do it over a couple of years as well. So there's a bit of that there. Do they need to do it? Now, it would be a massive gamble for the 49ers. Let's say the table is exactly as it is now come the first week of January. There's a 4-point gap between us and the bottom 3. That would be a massive gamble not to go and strengthen them, because every single side below you will. They'll all strengthen. They'll all fix their area that they didn't get done. And I understand that it's a selling market and not a buyer's market, but maybe you utilize the loan systems then. Maybe you look at players that you maybe looked at in the summer and you thought, we'll go for them. And the player said, no, actually, no, I'm going to stay and fight for my position. And maybe they've not played. But as Daniel Farke has always said, the issue with the January market is you're buying players that are not playing football. And then they need time to get up to speed. So the question mark around Harry Wilson, I personally do not think he's the difference maker. Leeds. He's not a difference maker. He's not. He's a solid player, solid Premier League player. He's got a decent set piece on him. He's not the set piece specialist he gets labelled as either, because if you look at his numbers on set pieces, he doesn't score enough set pieces to be a set piece specialist. He can take a free kick and he can take a corner. He's good at them. But Anton Stack can take a free kick and Van Longstack can take a corner. There's nothing different there. One's got an assist, one's got a goal already. So he's not the one for me. But what they do there, the players have been linked to it last week. Marlon Gomez from Shakhtar Donetsk, he's a 21-year-old Brazilian, came from Vasco da Gama to there. He's very highly rated. Hasn't played a lot of football either, though, but he's in and out because he's a young player. He's in and out of the team. He can go, but he's going to cost you 30 million quid. So that's probably off the table because Leeds have probably got in and around 10. If they've got anything, they've got about 10. Wilson's the other one. And then Lorenzo Pellegrini from Rome has been mentioned, but he's a 10, not a wide player. So maybe they're looking at that as well. I understand Danny talking about Spirchan playing in Russian League. Russian League's not a bad league. And I watched Spirchan play for Armenia against Ireland at the last international break and absolutely destroy Ireland on his own. And I mean, destroyed them. And Josh Cullen's in the Irish midfield. Nathan Collins is in the Irish defence, and he ran the show. So he is a very, very good player. I think he's on 14 or 15 GNA in 10 games so far for Krasnodar at the moment. So that's a set piece specialist, by the way. That's an actual set piece specialist. So it's a tricky one to do, but I know Joe Blackburn and me are in the same boat on this. I bite your hand off for him in the morning because when he played against Ireland, he played as an 8, not as a 10, and he still destroyed them. Absolutely destroyed them. So 100% will be a player I'd love to see us go after, but he's a 10. If Leeds are looking at a wide right player, then that rules out all 10s. They're all, so you can look at every rumour linked in Leeds with a 10 and say, no, that could be next year. But Pellegrini's over 30 years of age. He's a very good player. I like Pellegrini. I've liked him for a long time. He's a very good player of a high level, but he's probably the wrong side of 30 for Leeds' normal tick box exercise of 28 years of age, 1 year left in your contract, over 6 foot in height. He doesn't fit all the boxes there. But if Leeds are looking at 2 positions, maybe he's one of them, but it'll be an interesting one. But I think it would show an incredible amount of arrogance to sit on your hands in January and say, we'll be fine. Because you won't be.
I agree. I was muted, but I agree. You have to do something in January now. So let's look at the 49ers full ownership of the windows. Okay. So it's like.
Sorry, Alex, just real quick 1 second. Because Danny's comment on Ireland, by the way, if you watched Ireland against Portugal last night, Ireland should have won that game. Ireland were very, very good last night. Very, very good. And were robbed by a referee. Absolutely robbed. A penalty given against Ireland where no handball actually took place, hit a player in the chest, and a referee that could not wait to blow the final whistle as soon as they'd scored. So Ireland were robbed last night, and there's a lot of controversy about that match last night. Ireland played really well last night against Portugal. So there's still Premier League players in that Ireland team that Spertjan played against that he dominated. And if that's the level, we can't pick and choose what the level is. Oh, the Russian Premier League's not good enough. Okay, cool. He played against Premier League players, international level. Oh, well, they're not good enough either. Well, they are because they're playing Premier League football. So, yeah, Ireland were very good last night.
Yeah, well, disappointing loss and a very controversial one. I was just reading it before Jer and I went live. No, the 49ers window. So if you first window, summer window, they get their business done late. Then they get their first January window. They get a piece of business done very late. It was a fullback. His name's escaping me right now, from Burnley.
Connor
Roberts, right? So that was done late. Then you do the next window business is done late. No January business last year because we're preparing for the Premier League. Probably basis done early, attacking players done late, and really not, unfortunately, done. This is either going to be a continuation of the summer window, in which I think some of those names that we were going for are hopefully closed in on, or they just can't. To me, they can't. The way Farca works, they can't wait until mid to late January to do business, because then the player comes into the side, and they're not fully ready. They're not embedded. Yes, he's taking training, but he won't feature. Then he'll come on as a substitute eventually. So I think that we have to do it right away. We almost have to have the business closed, over the festive period. Where you hear things like sometimes like so-and-so's, it's already done and dusted. They're going to sign their deal. It's just the paperwork's just marked in a different, in 26 instead of 25. Yeah. So we're hoping that does. As far as Nanto, I guess, to summarize a little bit what you're saying, Jerry, we just have to wait until more credible links arise. 30 million for Nanto is, I think, the majority of the fan base would say fair, and we would absolutely do that business. It's just a question of getting all of that money and then doing it and then reinvesting it properly. Yeah. And so really, I don't know, any other news that you wanted to spell? I know the thing popped up about Rafinha being paid.
Yeah, we started that out.
You want to sort that one, or Parag not, being a full owner of Leeds United and just right now currently minority stake in Rangers. So Parag has put people in place. I think he can walk and chew gum at the same time. At least I'm hoping he can. So this whole idea that he's up in, Glasgow, doing his
He's not in the
thing.
Weeds. He's not in the weeds. He doesn't need to be in the weeds. He's
and money talks.
Doing this. Everyone else is doing the jobs. He's your operations manager. He's the person you go to at the very end and go, we're doing this, and we're doing this. What do you think? Yeah, I'll sign off on these two. You're not getting that. Okay, go away. Come back to me with the next thing. Do these things for me, by the way. Off you go. So he can be a chairman of like 5 different entities and manage all of them pretty easily. So he's got people in place. Working backwards, yeah, we're not owed any money for Rafinha. Barcelona owe a creditor money for the money they loan, so ignore all that. There's so much. It's been sorted. Graham Smith, fair play to him, has done 2 separate articles year on year. I spoke to Kieran Maguire last year on this channel, and Kieran Maguire said that the fee for Rafinha was clearly visible in Leeds United's accounts for that year. So it's a dead story. Leeds got their money. If Barcelona owe money to anybody, it's not to Leeds. It's not Leeds' problem. Move on. The windows, it's an interesting one. I think if you look at every single window, every summer window retrospectively, I think they've done really well. I think every single window has been good. This one, I think they learned some lessons. This summer, I think they learned that it's not as easy as a Champo window. You can't just go and pick and choose those level of players. You are going to have to find it a lot harder to get players that you want. So I think they'll learn from that. And I agree with January. If they're going to do any business, they need to have it lined up. I would be very happy for Leeds to go and get a right winger on the first week of January, and then at that moment, tell everybody out straight and clear, we're done. End of. We're now done in the window. Great. Okay, we got what we needed. We move forward. Great. But get it done. Get that. Give Daniel Farke the final piece of the jigsaw. Don't leave it up to chance. Let's not have a Adam Forshaw as our new midfielder coming back from injury. Oh, we've got two international number 9s, then both get injured. Like let's not do silly things like that. Let's learn from the past and make sure we don't repeat them in the future. Go and get the final piece done. Do that. Done. Right. And see where we are there. But whether they do that or not, I don't know. Graham Smith and Baron Cross, when they interviewed the 49ers during the summer, they said that they didn't view last January's transfer window as a gamble doing nothing. They were confident. And I'm like, yeah, that's really easy to say after you've been promoted to the Premier League. But at that exact moment of time, all of us were saying, this is a gamble. Like, they didn't need a lot, but they did need a 10. This is a gamble. And ultimately, they got away. And I'm supposed to say, I think they got away with it. I think we got away with it. I think that we were lucky players didn't get injured. Back second half of the season, we were good with injuries. So, and to look to that. And then we've seen this year already with Tanaka, with Ampadu getting injured, Tanaka getting injured, James getting injured, Nanto getting injured, that those injuries are happening a lot more now in the Premier League. The intensity is a lot higher. They're running an awful lot more. They're running an awful lot longer. So they need to make sure they've got cover in those positions. They've got the options that they need. And again, it goes back to managing minutes and rotation on that. You need to be able to say, Daniel James is a speed merchant, but you can't have him do that every single game for 90 minutes. He's going to snap a hamstring. It's wear and tear on his body. It is going to happen. At that speed, the pace of the Premier League, it is going to happen. You've got to have somebody where you can go 65 minutes, Dan, off you come, pal. Second player goes on. He does the work now for the last half an hour, 25 minutes. So that's where my head's at with that. Go get the one that we need. Go get it early. Tell us you're done with your business, and let's crack on with the rest of the season. But don't take chances. Don't gamble this year. Because it's not like, the big one for me is, it's not like last year where it's, well, if we don't buy anybody in January, then we can use that money in summer for Premier League players. And that's fair. But if you're looking at, we're already in the Premier League, we will hopefully be in the Premier League next year. Great. Go get a player right now for that squad that you wanted in the summer. Finish that one this year, because he'll be a Premier League player with you next year anyway. So go and do it now.
Amen. Let's do it. Let's finish it. And a massive, massive match this upcoming week against Burnley. I think it's a must win. I people say I use that term too early. You can't put that on the game. So if you want to say, oh, it's a must not lose, we will really, the narrative will, we all know this, the narrative will change extremely quickly if we don't get a positive result against Burnley. And I think it's up to Farke to set his men up correctly and get a result. And it's tough to do against an international break. Again, I hope he's taking training with some people soon. And cheers to you, Jir, for doing this. Three quick ways to support the channel. Leave a like, because we're live to anybody that subscribes to the Leeds View. Leave a review if you're listening to this on the audio platforms. Become a member of the YouTube channel if you can. There's a join button, and Jir and I do these Sunday sessions once a week, and so that's a YouTube member only podcast. And then we also are it's free if you want to listen to on the audio platforms. And then I think become a member if you can. It's like a cup of coffee or so a month. And
it's $3.99 a month to be a member. And these podcasts, we're doing a free hit this week. It's international break, so this is a free hit for everyone. But these will go out every single Sunday to members only, as they have been up until this week. So if you want to get that, and we're going to do some more member stuff as well. There'll be some discount codes for merch and stuff like that as well for people who want to get involved. Yes. But yeah, $3.99 a month is members. It's probably the best way to support the channel, especially right now with the YouTube algorithm just kicking everyone's teeth in at the moment. So that's the best way to do it. So if you want to do that, you can do it. We don't promote memberships on the regular content. This is the only one we promote on. So if you want to get involved, you can do that. As I said, $3.99 a month. That's it. and you can come and go as you please. But we'll have lots of stuff there over the next couple of months as well. So,
Gio, I forgot to ask, the Content Creator Awards, is it voting finished with that?
Voting closes today. It's already closed. It closed at 12:30 today.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah, that's done. So we'll find out, I believe, next week or the week after if we're in the final shortlist for the final, which is in Nellen Road. So fingers crossed, we do make it. So
fingers crossed. I saw some of the pictures of that. It looks like it's a black it's a big deal. It looks swanky.
Yeah, it's black tie.
Swanky.
Yeah, the price isn't great. That they're charging everyone who's been nominated to attend this year for the first time.
All right.
But it was 150 quid per ticket. I was like, that's nuts. I'm not going. And then I spoke to them and they said, if you're actually nominated in the short list, they massively discount those tickets for you to go. So but yeah, you have to get to the final shortlist, which we'll find out in the next 2 weeks. But fingers crossed. All Leeds TV are up for 2 different ones as well. So we're up for Best Podcast Premier League, and All Leeds TV up for Best Podcast Football League. So we managed to fit into both brackets this year because of the promotions. So we're both up for awards there. So you can vote for both of them, both of us, or you could have voted for both of us. And then they're up for social media, and we're up for Best Content Creator. So so it'd be nice to have some Leeds people. Again, I keep saying the irony, Leeds won't work with YouTubers, but yet they're hosting the Content Creator Awards in Ellen Road. So it's might get a chance to speak to somebody about it when I get there, if we get there. So fingers crossed. But even if we don't, because Joe Wayman, Joe Blackburn, Alex Michael, Jerry McNamee, Stats, Paul Brooker, anybody who has contributed to this channel over the last couple of years has helped us to get to this situation. Even just to be nominated is a massive achievement for us. We're very proud of that. So thank you to everybody who has supported this channel for as long as they have, watched the content, whether we agree or disagree. I appreciate every single person that does watch this content and has helped the channel get to where it's gotten to. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
I thank all of you for tuning in. Fingers crossed for the Content Creator Awards, Jer, and fingers crossed for 3 points for the Whites this weekend. And we will see you next time. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.